Introduction. I would say that the purpose of morality, as far as such an abstract ideal can have a clearly stated purpose, is to reduce the suffering we inflict on other conscious beings. The thing which allows us to do this is empathy, imagining we are another creature, feeling what it is like to be in their shoes. But sometimes this part of our nature is fundamentally broken, and usually culture is to blame. It may be a part of something that we naturally do, part of a practice or belief system that is very old, that which has been with us since the beginning. But this is no excuse. Humans have the ability to change. This concept has no better application than in the fact that we slaughter billions of animals each year for meat. There are all sorts of arguments and justifications for this, but I'm not here to talk about that today. Instead, I'm here to extend your sense of empathy. Here in the West, it is very taboo to eat dogs, yet there are other parts of the world where, up until very recently, it was not. Some people like to point out the hypocrisy, how we like to eat all sorts of other animals, but eating dogs is where we draw the line, and they have a point. There is an inconsistency, but this is the wrong way to go about it. Our sense of horror at eating dogs is a good thing. It means we empathize with the fact that they are living beings and we do not want to kill them. This feeling needs to extend to all living beings. Murder is murder, regardless of who we are killing. A lot of people trying to advocate for animals' rights try to appeal to people's disgust and shock by using ugly imagery. They talk about the things we do to animals and ask, would you be okay if we did this to a dog? But the human brain is very primitive. We associate the ugliness with the messenger. We think, how dare you talk about that? Be aware. By empathy, I'm not talking about that vague sense of respect humans ought to have for life. I could tell people that all animals we kill for food, cows, chickens, sheep, are all living beings with feelings and a desire to live. Then if I asked those people if they would be capable of killing the animals they had to eat, those people might say to themselves, yeah, I'd be fine with that. We gotta kill what we gotta eat, right? It's the circle of life, survival of the fittest. Yet if you tried to get a person to kill and eat a dog, most people wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah, he's made of meat, but he's got a brain attached. You don't want to kill the little thing. The creature is so adorable. If you take its life, it cannot be undone. You can sense the betrayal in his eyes. Even a cat can evoke these feelings of empathy, even though a cat is basically just a tiny tiger that lives in your house. I saw a funny video about the first guy to have a pet cat. He brings a cat to his house and his roommate is all like, oh, dinner? And the guy with the cat says, no, this little guy is going to live with us. I thought about what it must be like to regard a cat as just another source of food. If I had to kill and eat a cat, could I do it? The whole time I would just be looking the cat in the eyes and would be hearing him saying, please don't eat me, I don't want to die. Out of all the different types of farm animals, I would probably say that pigs are the easiest to identify with. They're actually very friendly, social, and intelligent animals, especially the teacup and potbelly varieties we keep as pets. If you ever meet one, they go up to you, smell your hand, and try to see who you are, just like a dog. If you ever keep one as a pet, they snuggle with you. You are their family. Being friendly, social, and intelligent obviously doesn't mean you suddenly have more of a right to live than everybody else, but pigs are easier to empathize with, and this gave me an idea. Perhaps if people could see how similar pigs are to man's best friend, it might open up their eyes. If people could even empathize with pigs, eventually that empathy could be extended to other animals, and then people would see the importance of defending and fighting for animals and their rights. Thus, I present the following list. Top 5 ways pigs are similar to dogs, with some bonus facts before the final entry. Number 5. Sense of smell. Pigs have an awesome sense of smell. What is important to keep in mind is when an animal has a really developed sense, it allows them to be more intelligent because it creates more connections in the brain. For example, dogs can find all sorts of items with their nose, the way a person can find all sorts of things with their eyes and use their sense of smell to recognize people. Dogs use their sense of smell for the sake of socialization. Having an advanced sense of sight, smell, hearing, or touch in general leads to intelligence. That is why humans and elephants are so smart. Humans have hands and fingers with a large amount of nerves, which allow them to use and create tools, which in turn leads to civilization. Elephants are very smart because they can grab things with their trunks. Paintings made by elephants were even a fad for a while. I have a picture of when one of my family members actually met a pig, and the pig tried to sniff their hand, similar to the way a dog you just met does. The reason dogs had to learn to smell so well is because it allowed them to hunt for animals or detect small creatures like rats in the ground, which they would eat. In addition, dogs need to have a good sense of smell to make up for some of their other disadvantages, one of which is their poor sense of sight. Coyotes and wolves don't see very well, and dogs, well, they're colorblind. Essentially, color can be seen in a spectrum of light. The two opposites we can see are red and violet. Humans can't see ultra-red or ultraviolet. Dogs see an even narrower range of color, being unable to distinguish between red and green. Granted, compared to dogs, we would be considered deaf, as dogs can hear at octaves we can't. When humans domesticated dogs, they utilized their sense of smell to their own advantage. Pigs are a bit similar. They had to be generalists to survive, having to gain mastery over a variety of skills. Yet they needed to find the plants with the best quality nutrients in order to sustain themselves. In order to find these plants, they needed to have a good sense of smell, even being able to detect plants that were buried underground. In a similar fashion to dogs, one of the many skills of a pig is to be able to dig things. This allows them to grab a plant and eat it once they smell it in the soil. Can you imagine being able to smell that well, to that specific of a fashion? How different would the world appear to you? Granted, dogs and pigs lack some of the complex thinking of a human being, but in its place are many interesting ways to view the world that a human being can only dream of experiencing. Anyways, the smelling ability of pigs is pretty useful to humans, and people use them to find and dig up truffles in Europe. There are most likely a million other applications for a pig's sense of smell. Number 4. Weight. The similarity of weight doesn't apply to all pigs. The average pig is about 500 to 700 pounds. What I am talking about are domestic pigs, teacup or potbelly pigs. I actually saw a person once who was walking around a baby pig on a leash in my neighborhood. It was an adorable creature. Now, people like to point out that they don't stay that small their whole lives. They grow to be very large. But the average teacup pig only grows up to be about 120 to 150 pounds. At most, they can only be 250 pounds. Anything more, and the creature is considered to be overweight. Your average dog is close to 100 pounds. It's not that big. People are fine having a creature with a similar amount of mass if it is a canine. The simple fact of the creature being a pig doesn't sound so terrible. From what I've seen, potbelly pigs make amazing pets. Anyways, the matter of weight is not that relevant to the creature's personality, but it does point out something interesting. With the matter of weight out of the way, pigs and dogs don't really seem that different. Sure, they have a lot of minor differences outwardly, but when it really boils down to it, they aren't so different. They are both intelligent, social, four-legged mammals. When you see just how similar the two creatures can appear outwardly, it makes you consider that they may be very similar inwardly as well. More on that later. Number 3. Diet. Keep in mind that the division between carnivore, herbivore, and omnivore isn't so clear, as species can gradually evolve to become one or the other. Carnivores can sometimes eat plants and even benefit from them, and creatures that are often thought of as herbivores will sometimes be caught eating meat. For example, squirrels. Sometimes an omnivore will have one or two nutrients that they can't get from plants, but for the most part can survive on plants alone without any problems. Usually creatures are not completely one or the other. That being said, pigs and dogs have a very similar diet, being able to eat a wide variety of foods. It is well known that while dogs don't need to eat meat to survive, they need it to be fully healthy. They need meat to produce vitamin D. They need a chemical known as arginine to maintain a healthy level of nitrogen. They also need taurine to produce bile acid. Taurine is a compound found in flesh. Some people describe dogs as carnivores, while others describe them as omnivores. Neither of these descriptions are sufficient, and it seems that dogs are actually somewhere in between on the spectrum. Anyone who has seen a dog knows that it can eat a variety of human foods, some of which are not completely meat-based. Dogs have a better ability to digest starch compared to their wolf counterparts in the wild, and it makes sense that dogs, having lived with humans for thousands of years, would have the ability to digest human food. There are exceptions. You shouldn't feed a dog grapes, onions, garlic, chocolate, etc. But if you ever take a look at dog food, there are a variety of ingredients such as beef, chicken, carrots, and eggs, and I've even heard that Chihuahuas like to eat apples. You'll even find a dog eating grass if they have indigestion. Pigs are very similar. Unlike dogs, they are fully omnivores. In the wild, they forage for food. They will eat leaves, fruits, flowers, and roots. They also will eat small insects and fish. When raised as farm animals, they are usually fed soy and cornmeal with some vitamins and minerals mixed in. If you have them as a pet, it is recommended that you give them a balanced diet of raw vegetables. However, you can also feed them pig pellet pet feed, which is not all too dissimilar to dog food. Keep in mind that pigs are generalists. They can eat just about anything. Sometimes they'll eat a small animal or something. They have to be very adaptable. They have a variety of skills, such as the ability to run fast, to attack. They are very tough and intelligent. The same applies to their diet. They can eat just about anything. Granted, they need food very rich in nutrition, but their omnivorous diet lends itself to the adaptability of the pig. Number 2. Intelligence. Unfortunately, we cannot simply measure an animal's IQ and compare it to other animals. We have barely figured out how to assign an IQ to humans. We can measure how intelligent an animal is, but we can't give them scores, or compare their score to other creatures, since animals can differ greatly. Animals can have all sorts of different experiences, ways of processing memory, skills, and can have different senses than us. So it isn't good to apply certain human concepts to the thinking process of an animal. We ought to empathize with animals, as they are thinking, feeling beings with consciousness. Nevertheless, when trying to understand a person or a creature outside of our own group, it can be frightening. Some people make the attempt, but make the mistake of fitting in the other person's behavior with their own way of thinking, which is a huge mistake, as not everyone wants, feels, or believes the same types of things. Nevertheless, when their intelligence is measured, both dogs and pigs turn out to be extremely intelligent in similar ways. They can both learn tricks, such as sitting, and recognize their own names. Dogs communicate by barking, wagging their tails, growling, whining, etc. Canines, such as wolves, actually have a specific list of gestures they use to communicate certain messages. Pigs can recognize and understand the meaning of 20 different oinks, grunts, and squeals. A test was done where some pigs were shown a dumbbell, ball, and frisbee. One of the objects had to be fetched, one needed to be jumped over, and they were to sit next to the last object. They were able to figure out what they were supposed to do, and were able to remember the procedure 3 years later. Pigs can even be taught to play video games. They are very primitive games, but they are rewarded for their success with treats, and the games progressively become more difficult. The animals still succeed. Scientists have figured out that pigs can learn to change temperature in a barn, using trial and error, heating up the barn when it's too cold and lowering the temperature when they get too warm. Regarding the intelligence of pigs, biologist Tina Wadowski says the following: "When I was working with monkeys, I used to look at them and say, if you were a pig, you would have this figured out by now. Not only are pigs social animals who are good at figuring things out, they also are good at rescuing those in danger. A pig named Prue saved her guardian's life by dragging her out of a muddy bog. A pig named Priscilla saved a young boy from drowning. A pig named Spammy led firefighters to a burning building to save one of her calf friends. A pig named Lulu found help for her human companion who had a heart attack. A pig named Tunya chased away an intruder, and a pig named Mona held onto a criminal's leg to stop him from running away until the police arrived. Apparently, even though there is no official IQ score for animals, when compared, many people come to the conclusion that pigs are more intelligent than dogs. Bonus facts about pigs. There were some facts related to pigs that I found interesting and wanted to share, but couldn't find a way to fit it into the top 5 entries on this list, so I put them here. Pigs and humans are actually very physically similar. For example, pig skin is so similar to human skin that it is actually used for biomedical research and to test drugs. Recently, the entire genome of pigs has been decoded, and because pigs and humans share so many similarities in their DNA, this data can actually be used to treat human diseases. Pigs can also be used as xenotransplantation candidates for humans. Xenotransplantation is when you take the cells, tissues, or organs from a member of one species and implant them into the member of another species. In captivity, the mothers of pigs will cannibalize their young. However, this behavior is not natural for them. It is from severe stress. Young pigs will often chew and bite off each other's tails, which is also attributed to stress. In addition, it's attributed to the pigs being bored and having a desire to chew things once they start growing their teeth in. One must understand, though, that this isn't simply ordinary boredom. Pigs are often crammed into crowded or tiny spaces, too small to move, in horrible conditions and filth. What they are most likely experiencing is sensory deprivation, experienced by those in solitary confinement. On top of this is the stress a farm animal usually experiences. It is especially bad for mother pigs, who are crammed into a pen that is so small they barely fit, and they have to lie on the hard floor. In addition, mother pigs are usually kept in a perpetual state of pregnancy, usually in a forceful manner, using a device known as a rape rack. Like most farm animals, pigs have parts of their bodies cut off without painkillers and often catch many diseases due to poor conditions. With how bad farm animals are treated, is it any wonder that they go completely insane? People who run animal sanctuaries have found that pigs are similar to us in many ways. They enjoy listening to music, getting massages, and playing with soccer balls. There was a very interesting experiment that was done recently where they actually revived certain processes in 32 dead pig brains. The brains were kept in a specially sealed chamber and were given a blood substitute. The pigs didn't experience consciousness, and there was no recognizable brain activity. A chemical was put in the brains to stop their neurons from firing, as it could potentially be extremely miserable to be brought back to life when you are outside of your body. The experiment is very interesting, as it is one of the first steps to helping prevent people from dying, and if you want to learn more about it, you can find it in the first link in the description below. Number 1. Social behavior. Part of the reason pigs and dogs are so intelligent is because they are both social animals. Social animals tend to be intelligent because the ability to socialize helps form all sorts of connections in the brain, and also because social animals tend to work together to accomplish complicated tasks. Dogs tend to be more social because their ancestors had to work together in packs to hunt, and the wild pigs tend to form groups of 8. Groups involve 3 females and their children. The male pigs are solitary and live on their own. In free-range conditions, pigs tend to pick a special spot to use the restroom. The ability to socialize is very important for a pig. Pigs that experience significant stress when they are young sexually develop more slowly, and boars that are raised alone tend not to perform well sexually. The socialization of pigs begins when they are young, and they are fighting over who gets the mother's milk. The one who gets the most access gains a lot of weight and is the dominant pig. Eventually, the pigs intermingle. Young pigs will often fight each other. As they grow older, however, the pigs do not maintain hierarchy with fighting, rather they use verbal threats. Dominant pigs will bark at subordinate pigs. Pigs can use and understand 20 different types of noises, which they use to communicate different messages. Piglets actually run to the sound of their mother's voices, and mother pigs will sing to their young while nursing them. Smell and pheromones are very important to the socialization of pigs. Male pigs can smell and detect pheromones to tell when females are in heat. When a new pig is introduced to a group, the pigs will investigate the newcomer by smelling them. Pigs can even form social hierarchies when blindfolded, showing that smell and vocalization are a lot more important for pigs than sight. As mentioned before, this is a similarity they share with dogs. Anyways, due to the fact that these animals are very naturally sociable, they make amazing pets. From what I've seen, are very loving and friendly. Conclusion. Anyways, I believe that we need to fight for the rights of animals. I recently noticed how similar pigs and dogs are, and thought I might make a video comparing the two, as it might be a very useful exercise in empathy. Pigs are very cool animals in general, so I thought to add some interesting things about them in the bonus section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and to leave a comment, as these things help my channel, and subscribe to get more videos like this one. Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.